they were doing really good stuff till they weren't, right? What did Gen.G learn? Because they kind of got away with greedy scaling and losing every lane and losing the jungle in one. So,
yeah.
Does Gen.G actually go proactive from here, or do they just say, let's do it again? It might work against Afreeca, and honestly, you win today, you're already out of, really, playoffs, right? So if you can just weather the storm one more time, maybe you actually escape relegations, and thus, it's all worth it.
Well, we'll see whether Gen.G can actually do it. At the moment, they're banning the Kha'Zix away from Dread. Certainly a comfort champion for him, and the Afreeca Freecs don't want to deal with the Kalista. Still so much left on the board, but namely, the Lissandra has been banned. Second round here for the Afreeca Freecs, and Braum once again going to be denied. On the side of life,
Zoe, a possibility. Rise for some people. Nico wasn't banned, and now it's just straight up first pick. A three-way flex, possibly. It seems like a pick Fly could play in the mid lane.
Absolutely.
We've seen on-hit Nico do okay in the mid lane around the world, and of course the AP build's a bit sucky, so probably not going to happen.
It's a bit sucky, but it's better than it used to be, right? So you can still do it if you want to.
When we did see Nico mid lane, I think it was LPL, it was just AP. So it was just on-hit, actually.
Yeah.
No, it was LEC, actually, from memory.
That's what Faker has been practicing a lot in solo queue as well, but that was more on 9.4.
It's just kind of good everywhere without being as broken, given that the hot fix is here on patch 9.5. So you see Nico, you assume it's top lane because Cuvées played a million games of it, and Afreeca actually power pick away the Ezreal and Zoe, a bit more tier listy, but also a bit less team fighting. Pick power here, but always the chance Afreeca are still going to be flexible from here, but you say, okay, 2 items on Ezreal, 1 item on Zoe, load up. And Sieging should be very happy with just 2 picks locked in.
Yeah, the Vayne is going to be locked in. Gen.G going back to this style, and I actually really wanted to see the Morgana flex to be picked up, but it is going to be the Tahm Kench. Could have certainly been Morgana for the mid lane there on the side of Fly, but they want to deny the Tahm Kench for the Ezreal Tahm Kench safety bottom lane.
Do you pick for lane here? I think you need a range support if you're a Afreeca Freecs. You could hold that for much later. I don't know what Jelly's kind of pocket range support is, given that he's, of course, a lot less tenured than other players.
Okay.
They're going to hold on to support for a while, and I think go pretty risky here, because otherwise you're like, uh-oh, we might actually just go CS for CS with Vayne. That's never good. And they pick someone who can dive after a Vayne. It's going to be top lane Aurelia against the Nico. Definitely going to be some pain points early, but from level 6 onwards, most range champions are a little bit wary of that Vanguard's edge.
Yeah, exactly right. And if you get caught with the stun as well, you certainly are in a heck of a lot of trouble. But they're not going to have to deal with the Morgana. Like I said, if they wanted it, they'd need to pick it instead of that Tahm Kench, and it's going to be banned here by the Afreeca Freecs.
Do you ban Zac? Because otherwise, you can think of Gen.G getting some big, thick boys next to double Vayne, basically, and Nico and Vayne. So I think maybe a Zac ban here might be a good idea. They ban Nocturne.
That's an odd one. I actually don't think
Nocturne really don't like Nocturne.
Exactly.
Thematically, it seems like, yes, you can Abyssal Voyage, Nocturne, but at this point, you're already priced into thick boys next to Nico and Vayne. So that's a really curious ban. Coming in from Afreeca, and then the Olaf's going to be banned as a tempo jungler, and I understand the idea of snowballing through. Gragas is going to be potentially the support here, you would imagine, but could be the jungle also for Dread.
Yeah, it could be Dread trying to disrupt the team fight, and it does work at trying to abuse
This is like the God Zac time. If you think it's against Gragas jungle, you're like, oh, a free Zac pick.
Yeah, well, it's going to be Peanut back on an old favorite here in the Lee Sin. Certainly works out in a similar vein as that's the LeBlanc that was banned twice in the Griffin series against Fly. Hasn't necessarily been spamming it in solo queue, but has had some decent performances, but so far here in the LCK, if it's not Lissandra, it's not doing very well on the side of Fly.
So Gen.G actually move away from what we're expecting and say, we're not going to have double carries in a team fight with a big front line. They're actually looking more 1-3-1, you'd say, in this draft. LeBlanc does quite well against Zoe if she gets going. Has been Zoe favorite, but LeBlanc recently has been doing very well in the matchup. Top lane is going to be a very fine game of, can I find Nico with a W down or not, says Aurelia.
Yep.
If the answer is yes, then solo kill potential there. Side lanes will be intriguing. They don't go for the front line, and the front line with double carry is how they beat Griffin. So I'm very surprised they didn't take the invitation to go Zac, but the Lee Sin is up. They're looking to be proactive, and maybe the Vayne and Nico will be the icing on the cake rather than the only win condition for Gen.G.
Yeah, Gen.G do have a lot more power in the mid game as they move out of this particular draft. So a bit of a change up here for how Gen.G are going to play out this game, and I have to say I like it because they handedly lost the early game. They were delivered a victory, in the late game. Unfortunately, Afreeca unable to hold on, and now you've got a Gen.G that does scale well into the late game, but has way more tools after that level 6 has been hit from all of these champions.
And even pre-6, they got a lot more agency. Like in the first game, they were not kind of the authors of their own success or demise. They were just waiting and ended up high-rolling on some mistakes from the enemy. In this game, they've chosen to fight when we thought they would go much more scaling. So opposite day is always a possibility. When we got the bottom versus the bottom and the top versus the top later, SKT versus Sandbox, I'm sure a lot of our viewers are joining in a little bit earlier to just get their eyes peeled. The bottom of the table is going, we'll go with Weird and Wonderful in game number 1, and let's see if that continues into game number 2.
Yeah, and game number 2 is actually, as you can see, this draft from the Freecs, you can understand exactly what it does. Zoe Ezreal compositions have been around since Zoe made her way into competitive play. So we'll see whether they can actually navigate these team fights effectively as we get to game number 2, Gen.G versus Afreeca. Gen.G fans still winning when it comes to the fan cheers. As Gen.G thinking about trying to get some early shenanigans happening.
Feels like a long time since we've seen that particular Vayne skin. That is the one that I
Dragon Slayer.
Double Lift would always use the non-chroma version of that back in the day when Double Lift's Vayne was among the scariest things in World League of Legends.
It was definitely the coolest Vayne skin to get released for a good many years.
I was a big fan of Librarian Vayne.
Yeah, I know, but it was... what about Nest Head Vayne? Is that the Librarian Vayne? No, it's not.
No.
Nest Head was the other one that came out when Vayne was released.
You know, whatever.
I'm pretty sure that's the name of it.
We were working out stuff in 2010, I guess.
Yeah, we're trying to figure it out. I still bought both of those skins. It was Vindicator Vayne, I think.
There we go, Vindicator Vayne. That sounds really good to say.
It does. The other one is Nest Head, so that's probably why not as many people played it.
I don't know about the red chroma, but that's what we're doing in this game.
I like the red and green. It's cool. It's got a Christmassy vibe.
I'm all about OG. Again, double lift iconic Vayne going on. As Fly is poking a lot at level 1, which is understandable on the LeBlanc. Kind of made me wonder if he was taking the Kleptomancy, but it's going to be Electrocute for a bit more kill pressure. 2-0 on the Nico for Cuvée. Only got to play it those 2 times. We got one of those first of the season Gragas's that we know can go really good or just the worst. So
is it going to be a Cuz or a Bono is the question.
Or a Score or a Bono. If we're
yeah,
be
that's
classic.
true. That's true if you're going to go classic. I feel like more recently it's been Cuz that's been overperforming on the Gragas.
If you had no context, the fact that Bono is the non-classic reference, it's actually the new age reference.
Yeah.
When U2 is so damn old. Yeah. Irony not lost on us.
No, absolutely not.
Sorry for calling you guys
old.
I'm old as well.
Yeah, we're all old, don't worry.
How old are you this year?
Me? I am 31.
Look at us, 31 and 32. Right. Let's past it, Atlas.
I'm always one behind you, so I get to ask how my age is going to be.
Maybe if we were younger, game 1 made more sense. Like maybe we just
yeah, maybe.
It's just too complex for our old minds to understand.
It was actually genius on the side of Gen.G. Actually wasn't a throw from the Afreeca Freecs at all.
I mean, if we're listening to young people's music, sometimes you just don't have the ear for it, right? Maybe that's the case with young people's League of Legends. Maybe we're aged out, Atlas.
Yeah, maybe
now we're finally going to have to pack up, become cricket commentators, because in cricket terms, we're so young.
Yeah, exactly. And in fact, the game hasn't changed for so incredibly long that we'll never fall behind when it comes to, patch information, things like that. Oh, perfect. Bring it on. Let's go back to the MCG.
I'm down for that.
Yep.
AFL season starting. Shout out to AFL fans around there. We got Aussie fans, of course, in this time
My team won yesterday.
That's true. My team plays tomorrow, the West Coast Eagles. Whose team's going to get the blue buff?
I don't know. I think Peanut's going to be able to pick it up, and he does so. Has the better smite finger today as Dread down to half health and shouldn't be able to contest for this Gromp. It's going to be Bertha going down pretty easily, but though Jelly is going to rotate over. It's going to be another battle. Smite available for Dread, not for Peanut.
Whoa!
Well, that was a cute one. It's going to be the Devour, and the reset just going to waste a whole bunch of time as
Bertha's
leaps
scared.
her way back.
Bertha's seen terrain.
Yeah.
Now we can finally ask Bertha how she feels about the water. She saw water.
I know, and this is a frog now finally seeing water. Amphibians that now have their opportunities to find the water.
Does Bertha leap over the water or on top of the water? Because I couldn't tell.
If there were lily pads, I'd say over
there
the top
aren't
of
lily
the water.
pads. We can see the water.
gravity.
I like to think that Bertha floats on top of water.
You reckon?
You can't really tell.
I think if she's going to leap into the water, I think she's going to spend a bit of time.
After game 1, I'm thinking about leaping into the water.
Yeah, me too. Oh, well. You can see
I'm going to have a drink. You keep talking.
Yeah. We were discussing whether or not we should get a beer after this, but we're not going to. We're going to keep it PC on this particular broadcast, although game number 1 certainly did bring those ideas in mind. If you are of age, I would recommend. Keen and Dread hanging out here, seeing whether Dread can actually get an early gank down here, level 3, but Peanut's going to come up with a level advantage. That is going to be the first snare landing onto Keen, but also him getting the stun. And that's a very quick kill there from Dread. The flash body slam was a great one, and now Peanut could be in trouble. We're looking for a blade surge, but we're not going to get it from Keen.
Wow, that was some flash chicken that apparently Cuvée wasn't ready for. He just got all in and died. Seemed very straightforward.
Yeah.
For Afreeca Freecs.
Stationary target.
Those are the hardest.
Yeah, tricky.
The Scuttle Crab is really hard.
It's not stationary. Scuttle Crab is a Trixie mix.
It's predictable most of the time.
Yeah.
Calling the Scuttle Crab a mix is great.
In theory. Scoodle Rivers, I think, is the one that scoots a little bit more than Scuttle Rivers on the bottom side.
Scoodle Rivers? Really like Joan Rivers?
Yeah, Scoodle Rivers.
I haven't heard that one before.
That's the name.
So let's watch the replay here and see if there was a flash timing. I mean, obviously you could flash at any point, but Dread, I guess, just was more assertive than the Nico was expecting. And like we alluded to, Nico ain't got no health, so she's dead.
Yeah. She does make it back to lane pretty comfortably, though. Now with a big CS deficit is Cuvée getting a fair bit of damage there, trying to soak up some of this minion damage.
Who's coming
with the
first?
Shapeshifter.
Remember, Vanguard's edge is up, so Peanut's going to respect that.
Yep, Rip Scuttle does go over. Scoodle Rivers, as we were talking about before, gets ended by Dread.
What's the bot side Scuttle called?
Scuttle. Scuttle and Scoodle. And then Shirley Rivers. They're all part of the same family. That's what Alice and I have figured out.
What are the family reunions are like?
I don't know. I guess they talk about their various deaths in League of Legends games. Talk about their favorites, and I guess Shelly says, well, there's sometimes where I just get to go home, and it's so good.
Is that her accent?
No. I don't think she's Australian.
I mean, we're both Australian. We've got that synergy going on. We've been denied from the viewers for the better part of a month. We've only had that SKT Griffin Day, and then I don't know what's going on. We're like star-crossed lovers.
I've been monopolizing LS as well. I don't think Brendan has remembered that LS is even on the broadcast at this stage.
I mean, theoretically, they're both supposed to show up tomorrow. I guess.
Yeah.
When we see them both sitting here with headsets on.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee both of them show up.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. They were like, oh no, we can't both be on the same show. That's ridiculous.
Or maybe we always have to have an Aussie on the show.
Hey, I like that idea.
It's going to be much less AFL references tomorrow. As Dread almost casually sauntered by and stole the blue.
And Peanut loses most of his health bar there just because Fly took so long to come and take that blue buff. So there are a lot of opportunities for Dread to be able to get something done. You can see it's 12 CS advantage on the bottom side of the map. Rule using his teleport to get back to this lane. On the bottom side with the Bilgewater Cutlass. Not going to be enough to keep up any control.
Cuvé's flash is still up, so at least if the Gragas comes in, there is the outside chance a flash to get him away from Cask. No guarantees if enough CC duration is overlapping. A lot of threat here. Not often you will see an Aurelia up 12 CS on a ranged opponent, but because of the enforced back from his death, Keen doing nice. And I guess the nameplates are on, because remember, it is Keen here, and he is already put Sword in his death note, and he's looking to add Cuvé's name to the list.
And it does feel like a matchup that will go relatively similarly to that of a Sword matchup. Cuvée and Sword have a similar style. They want to be more facilitating. They want to control team fights. They want to enable the rest of their team. Whereas Keen wants to win the game by himself. And that's what he did in order to put Sword in the ground, and he's looking to do it again against Cuvée. The Rise was a little bit of a forgettable performance, but now on the Aurelia, a lot more agency to try and be the center of attention.
Speaking of agency, Dread pops the Predator.
Yeah, he's looking for it. That's a good Devour, but it's going to be Life taking a fair bit of damage. Jelly's looking for a headbutt pole, but Fly's coming on over. Dread in trouble. 300 health now after he takes a bit of a drink, but Peanut should be able to get in here and get some control over the enemy blue buff side.
Imagine both junglers. It's a couple of camps away from level 6. Could be a re-engage.
Yeah, this is going to come in here. It's going to be Life. Does have the grey health available now as Ruler. Free hitting onto Jelly. Going to be able to get the tumble. That's an auto from Fly that secures the first kill for Gen.G. And the Afreeca Freecs, now with a man disadvantage, will lose their blue buff as well.
The engage was anything but clean from Jelly, and he didn't have ultimate after the first round. Doesn't pull off, so because of that, You're not able to take this blue. A lot of pressure is abated and counter-killed Gen.G.
Yeah, and Fly gets to cycle both blue buffs on both sides of the map. That's a fantastic start. For the LeBlanc, they have CS parity, but that's going to be much more difficult for Sun to hold on to now that he doesn't have his flash and doesn't have access to a blue buff. Peanut is going to steal away this, but not actually going to get it. Dread picks it up.
Gets level 6 from that, but Jelly wasn't forward enough to actually get an all in there. That was mobility boots by. There was his chance. They can look for something, not to be. And like you say, Fly picking up the blue buffs after. Zoe in the natural laning phase without any intervention was up about 5 CS, so better part of a minion wave. Does mean that the LeBlanc, now with Merc Treads and mana management that Lost Chapter isn't providing, but the Merc Treads and the blue buff means that he should be in a very comfortable spot. And we'll see if Fly can perform, because we were cheering the multiple games we saw the LeBlanc banned, you remember, by Griffin. So let's see if he can perform on it here, given it's traditionally been a pick that's been a bit away from his comfort.
Yeah, when I was seeing all those bans coming in, I just assumed that it was Griffin knowing something that we don't, from scrims, from information that they wouldn't have access to, because Griffin are a smart team, right? They're not going to be banning a champion. They straight up don't need to, especially when there's Lissandra to contend with. So Fly does have a lot to prove here, and so far, with the only kill on the side of Gen.G, is doing a great job. See whether he can keep priority here in the mid lane, because Fly having priority in the mid lane is something we never talk about, because he never has it.
What we do talk about is Keen having priority in the top side, and is there an item timing coming anytime soon where Cuvée can run at Keen and actually force him into a defensive position? Because I'm already thinking maybe 2 items have to be completed. If a 1 item is matched by a gold lead on Keen, that 1 item is going to be a bit delayed compared to most of a Trinity Force with that Tiamat. So already top lane is looking difficult. There's no disarm anymore. Onto Cuvée, there's plenty of just raw damage. So it's going to be very interesting to see how things go on the top side here. His first turret play almost inflicted.
Yep, aiming, looking for it, but not going to be able to get it just yet. Going to wait for another minion wave.
He's going to wait for it.
Yeah, he is. That's the W. That hasn't been nerfed yet, so that's going to be able to get that turret plate down. Money goes over to aiming and Jelly there on the bottom side of the map, but it is a CS even situation between Vayne and Ezreal. And historically, Vayne into Ezreal has actually been a matchup that's worked very well for Vayne.
It's a really classic matchup.
Yeah.
Again, I always talk about a data point that a lot of our players and the viewers today would have not even been playing the game back when Ezreal's W used to slow attack speed, his kind of first OP phase after his initial numbers being overtuned with his heal.
Yeah, that's going to be Fly instantly cleansing. It's out of the way and no more sparkles to come in. Barrel's not going to find the mark either.
It feels like if you compare Dread to, say, Score, which of course unfair given this is his first LCK stage game on the Gragas, I feel like Gragas should always be mid-popping the Predator as the first CC is being threatened by Sun. You know, that you can't be watching the CC go down, then it's, okay, Predator, I'm coming in. Because it's just one thing for the enemy mid laner to think about, not 2. Something for Peanut to think about, Life and Fly, lying in wait.
Cuvée coming in from a potential flanking side as well as Dread. If him and Keen do get overly aggressive, it could be a big deal, but that's a great ward that spots out that there is too many bad guys in the area. So they are going to back away. Fly gets his 3rd blue buff of the game at 13 minutes in. That's a great feeling for a mid laner.
Oh, honestly, he's been the most helped out by the jungle interaction outside of the positive gank top side. He's benefited with those blue buffs. Topside priority means that Afreeca should have the implied control of this Rift Herald, but Gen.G are fighting for it. They want the Rift Herald, if it's going to be taken post 14 minutes.
Shelly Rivers, go back home. Took her a long time to releash.
I actually really agree with this by Gen.G. It's not always smart to make proactive plays topside when you don't have top lane advantage. But the theory is the map splitting objective is Ocean Drake. So, and also, what if the Rift Herald is taken pre-14, and then Aurelia gets 320 gold, and the turret goes down the next few minutes, and then just kills Nico, right? If you're going to get that top lane turret, you still want the Rift Herald. If you are Afreeca Freecs, you still want the top lane turret dead to allow Aurelia to have some flexible lane assignments. But denying the gold and delaying means that the gold will not be picked up from the Shelly charge.
Oh wow, Fly actually getting a lot of damage there onto Dread and keeping himself safe from the ultimate. That's a huge deal as Peanut will be able to secure this Ocean Drake. Takes it down without having to use the smite, but doesn't get out safely. That is going to be an Ocean Drake sacrifice And I don't think that you'd take that. Open Drake isn't one that we necessarily like for that.
There's been multiple moments this series where I've been a bit incredulous.
Yeah, that's a whoopsie.
They knew people were there. Why don't you smite it and get out of the pit? It was so bizarre. He died with flash up, smite up. He had the dragon on 500 health for a long time, Atlas.
He's lost his F button a few times so far in the 2019 season.
He just didn't need to die there.
Yeah, he didn't.
Like, it was very, like, if you paused it and say, how many times does Peanut die in this scenario, I would have said 0.
If he doesn't want to, he doesn't. But if he wants to die, to lure the Afreeca Freecs into a false sense of security, he dies at that moment. That's the only real reason that I have. I'm clutching at straws a little bit to try and justify exactly why.
I guess maybe we're off on the timing of Smite, and it was a couple of seconds away from cooldown, but it looked pretty clearly available to me. Okay, I mean, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. So let's just remember that Smite was down, and thus it made sense.
Okay, cool. That's what we can think about. QV picks up this minion wave. Turret plate's no longer available as it's 15 minutes into this game. Couple went over on the side of the Afreeca Freecs, given their slight advantage in a lot of these lanes. Now that we're out of this particular phase of the game, we're waiting for Ruler to be able to pop off.
Nice and tricky there. Masked as Peanut. I actually feel like, in top lane is probably the hardest place to do this, but I feel like there isn't enough masking with the Nico passive. It's kind of boring when you have on-hit Nico who doesn't really use Q.
Yeah.
And then doesn't really use passive, and it just becomes very reductive. So
I feel like you have one spell that actually does
anything.
That's the E. Because you don't actually have to press.
You press W to get away, and you press R when someone gets on top of you.
Yeah, I mean, but I feel like if you're in a fight, the only buttons you need to press are E.
Well, right now, some stun buttons are being pressed.
Yeah, that's a decent condemn into the wall there as Silver Bolt is going to get a lot of damage. Ruler actually getting the dodge, which is beautiful. Vanguard's Edge doesn't find the mark. They don't have vision, so Dread survives for so long, and eventually it's Peanut that grabs that kill. Pop Blossom has to be flashed as now QV gets himself into his W and will be saved. Sun tries to get damage over, but doesn't land. The Trouble Bubble, that's going to be a free kill going to Gen.G, and Ruler's still looking for more.
I mean, Ruler was able to dodge a lot of abilities there. Hard to give full credit when it comes to the dodge or the miss on the Vanguard's Edge. Very fast skill shot, but it goes wide. Ruler stays alive. And Gragas goes down there, and he would have had a bit of gold behind him as well. So Ruler and Life continue to push up, and CS for CS in the bot lane was kind of expected if we didn't see a range support.
Okay.
We don't see a range support, Atlas, and thus, Vane's just straight up winning the lane.
Yeah. And they were left in a 1v1 scenario, and we already mentioned the fact that that feels very good as the Vayne. Trouble Bubble now on cooldown.
Let's see if we give Ruler full credit here, because he did have a lot of skill shots to think about. Gragas ult, and also the Gragas threat in general. So able to tumble away. That's definitely a dodge. Vanguard's Edge. That's miss, it feels like, on the side of Afreeca.
A little bit, but it was a sidestep.
Yeah.
It would have hit him if he had stayed there, but you're just not going to stay there. So a bit of prediction probably would have been better there on Keen's behalf.
Tumble, a useful ability when it comes to dodging the Vanguard's Edge. So nicely done from the side of Ruler. He comes back, and we all know he's a pickaxe and the recipe away from being someone who can look at a front line, and if he doesn't die in that first chain, all of Afreeca dies.
Yep, that's exactly right. We're waiting for two of our Ginsu's Rage Blades here for both the Nico and the Vayne. And Gen.G will be ready to fight a little bit earlier than their last composition. This tower is taking a fair bit of damage, but right now they're not too frightened of what Dread can get done. And these Mystic shots are just getting deftly maneuvered away from there by Ruler. He's really got his eye in today, and he's bloodthirsty after game number 1. Fantastic performance on the Ezreal. This feels like now, look at how aggressive he's going. That's a great combo into the wall there as Jelly loses half his health bar. You can't do too many more of those. The Alistar won't be able to get any more of these engagements.
And it's what the AD carries around the world have been saying is topside.
Yep, Pop Blossom comes in, but that's just beautiful from Keen. Gets out of the way in time. Sun comes down to the bottom side of the map, and the Afreeca Freecs are trying to take the bull by the horns. This tower, not long for the world.
And sometimes you prep a series and your storylines don't come in. The obvious storyline was Ruler versus Keen.
Yep.
Feels like a Ruler versus Keen game.
Absolutely. Thankfully, it's going to pay off this time around. We had some shenanigans in game number 1, game number 2. It is certainly working this time more in favor of the Afreeca Freecs. Towers fall on both sides of the map. Mid lane is going to go down in favor of Gen.G, but I'll take 2 for 1 any day of the week. And it does mean that now Nico has more lane assignments where he says, what about a team fight maybe? Yeah. Does QV? We're going to watch the replay. Look, QV's not even low health on this play. Vanguard's Edge doesn't go wide, and, well, nice Pop Blossom, you're dead. Yeah.
And it wasn't even close.
It wasn't close at all. And that was just beautifully played, right? Get out of the way of the CC, and you're fine.
He just monstered his opponent there.
And he looked so calm. He's like, killed Nico.
I mean, it's the 13th time he's done that, Atlas.
Yeah, that's true. He's getting bored. No, 15th, isn't it?
At 12 solo.
Okay.
Is it 13th or 15th? Regardless, a lot of solo kills.
Yeah, that is when you're arguing about 12 or 14 for one season. That is definitely a decent move here. As yeah, it was 12. You're exactly right. Double checking my notes.
Well, we'll see if it's unlucky or lucky number 13. Watching a rift out here. It's close.
Oh, if only you could steal things away with the shapeshifter. Not able to.
See if they can get a lane assignment they like for Keen. He'll take anyone in a 1v1. He can burst down a LeBlanc if things line up.
Yep, Shelly Rivers is going to try and smash down this outer turret in the mid lane, and she'll be very successful here as 3 turrets are now going over to the Afreeca Freecs, and we're back at a 20 minutes that we're pretty used to.
And kind of a click of the fingers and 3 turrets dissipate, right? It's almost like the temperature went up and all the water overheated and turned to gas at this point. They're going to go pick up the Ocean Drake, which is a bit of a nothing objective. Don't feel great about that one, but just take it off the rift. Don't allow for the stacking from Gen.G. And now, we're once again in a mid-game where Afreeca not as far ahead as they were in game number 1, where they just had mammoth CS leads everywhere. They're much more competitive overall in CS. We don't have 80 CS dying to the turrets like it did in game number 1. Ruler doesn't have any kills, but has had a very comfortable laning phase. Aurelia's items a little bit early.
That flawless duet to get, sorry, the condemned to get out of the flawless duet was just beautiful under the red buff there. A little bit of buff secure mechanics coming through as Sun misses mechanic creep. And everywhere, everyone is tilted. Are you going to get any of these? Gets an extra 2.
So, what does the game look like for an Afreeca fan if you're actually able to turn it into a victory? For us, it's a 4-1 because Ezreal and Zoe, as we said in draft, the moment they were locked as first 2 picks on red side, you're like, this is going to be a 4-1 comp because Zoe and Ezreal are best friends forever. Just hang out in the mid lane, poke down and try to siege down turrets. And, well, we saw the solo kill already, so given that Fly doesn't have teleport and Ruler, I guess 6 items might be able to answer an Aurelia, and before that, not so much. Feels like Aurelia in a side lane, and certainly a Nico is not the answer to that. The side of Gen.G. It's going to be about team fighting more than perhaps they would have wanted. Remember, they could have gone Zac team fight and decided to go for mid-game power. Mid-game power.
Okay, Dread. Looking for the fight. Peanut flashes to get himself out of the way. He will be safe for the moment. That's a bigger cooldown, though. Utilized by Gen.G. Flawless duet going to land onto Ruler, but otherwise no threat is aiming. Getting aggressive, and Peanut taking a lot. That means that he's going to have to reset, and Afreeca should be able to get this inner turret on this push.
They really want this inner turret. They're actually grouping with Keen, even though every other lane assignment is bad. So they want inner turret. That does give them a lot of natural vision to potentially look for something like a Baron, and also maybe monopolize further Drakes if Gen.G put all their vision into Baron. So they do lose a outer turret for it, but no harm, no foul. Keen backs off. He didn't have teleport during that play, but neither did Fly, so they had a lot of options.
Yeah, Fly also managing to push, but not able to get down. The inner turret on the top side means that Afreeca just trade up in that particular instance. They open up the map for themselves as well. Gen.G's jungle is getting very small at this point in the game.
Getting very literal about Gnar builds on Nico. Looks like it's going to be Frozen Mallet, given that Durham's Fist doesn't have as many flexible options for a ranged champion. Yep. Anything to stop Aurelia killing him is good news. Maybe just sit on the Durham's Fist for a while. I see a dagger. The Rage Blade will come, but need to actually get to that point without dying again.
Yeah, I think you need the Rage Blade first, just because that 2-item spike is so relevant onto Cuve's Nico. And then you can get one of the...
We've got one Nico going,
exactly.
or one Vayne, if you will, because the core items are there for Vayne. Ruler has his core down. Remember, when we had this comp before, yes, we have other threats here, but the important note about Cuve and Ruler when they have their Rage Blades is the enemy team, they got a lot of burst and poke. Gen.G needs some time to build up Ginsu's Rage, and then they win team fight. So they're actually slow starters in a team fight, or they want to prep their damage onto, say, a Baron, and then turn onto a team fight.
Yeah, their Baron turn is actually very scary with the Rage Blade. The fact that they also have just a lot of consistent damage is going to mean that the Baron is going to be an option here for Gen.G. But like you say, in game number 1, when we were talking about the Afreeca Freecs draft, not a lot to actually tank up the Baron. I mean, I guess Life, in theory, has the ability to be a little bit beefy, but otherwise it's not really going to be a thing as Q lands on the Keen. The Afreeca Freecs have control of basically everywhere on this map, and that is a very big Aurelia.
He's actually going for GA very early, just to dive in and hit the next team quite hard. I think this game is there to be won in the next skirmish.
Yeah.
If there's a 3-for-0, you're getting a Baron, or you're getting something else big on the map. So I don't mind going for, let's win the game now. I think it's probably a pretty good read from Keen, who just doesn't want to be kind of in a side lane while the game is decided elsewhere.
The problem is, for the Afreeca Freecs, is that they're not actually winning anymore. They're actually slowly giving the game back to Gen.G. It's moved from a 3,000 gold lead to a 2,000 gold lead. They need to start making some proactive plays to get some work done. They can enact the 4-1.
But I don't mind them looking at this game and saying, oh, maybe we can win mid to late. Like, there's not the same guarantees there were where the Corki, frontline comp for Griffin just wasn't going to be able to deal with Vayne Nico. This is actually a bit more balanced as the game goes on, and the 4-1 is so perilous that Afreeca don't have the same onus on them that you might think.
Well, right now, Predator has been popped here from Dread, gets the Chilling Smite down, Ruler's there for the potential, but Peanut just doesn't press Safeguard. He gets the kickback onto Keen, who goes immediately into his stopwatch, and now, oh my goodness, the snare was just too good. Ruler now, with that Ginsu's Rage stacked up, looking for his second. That's going to be the kill onto the cow, and somehow, Peanut made that look like a genius play.
Exactly, gift wrapped on both sides with Keen and Peanut going down. They don't get the enemy Baron Taker in the smite, but they do get 2 members. So even though Peanut goes down, the catch was evened out on both sides.
That was really crazy there from Gen.G. I thought Peanut was just not going to press his safeguard button. I feel like he could have got out onto Ruler there before he got snared into the wall. Didn't actually happen. We're going to see this one again.
It was the kick, and it was all about the pincer here. From Afreeca, they wanted to get Peanut down.
Oh, Safeguard was already down from that control ward.
That's why you came in here. Now the stun misses, and that means that you end up going further than you want to. Keen thinks with stasis he'll be fine, but there's no one to join him up front. Dread is kind of happy putting the back, so actually the on-hit members get to stack themselves up, and even though the Rage Blade's not there for Cuvée just yet, you see that if one person is offering themselves up as a sacrifice, it will be gleefully accepted by Cuvée and Ruler.
And now you got 100% kill contribution on your Vayne, 1-0 and 3 with a 600 gold bounty. Yes, it's bigger on the side of aiming. Klepto has been stacking up nicely during this game. However, the Vayne win condition is certainly something that we have to talk about now.
Fly's actually going to poke around this Ocean Drake.
Kill Dread, who's trying his very best to take down this Ocean, but misses too many of his buttons.
A little bit risky with no Pixel Brush Ward. If you had Pixel Brush Ward, you'd say, oh, actually aiming fully disengaged.
Yeah.
I think you can make it, but
you need to fight around his distortion timing rather than anything else, as Fly, who is going to not stop with that. That was close.
Gonna stop the home guard buff, at least.
Hey, yeah, no, not even.
Oh, not even that timing. Well,
that's bad.
He got nothing.
Yep.
But also, Afreeca kind of got nothing, because it's Ocean into Cloud as the next spawn. So it's not like they're high rolling. They're not actually controlling the Baron pit, and they're getting the low roll Drakes. So this actually suits Gen.G just fine, as they should have Rage Blade and some more relevance on Cuvée outside just the snare duration on 9.5.
Yeah. Nico looking to try and continue moving on forward here, as you can see. He's disguised Tahm Kench for the moment. Teleport there from Ruler. He's got the home guard buff. He's moving real fast. As this Vayne.
Might have Phantom Dancer done it. Didn't see what he was building towards. His third item had Rage Blade a while ago, and there is the Phantom Dancer.
Yeah, 3 items already. Lifeline passive now online for the Vayne. True Shot Barrage tanked. He's got some lifesteal in this build, though. He'll be okay.
Going TP means you don't have the luxury to go anything other than Phantom Dancer, and it's by far the most picked up seal item choice on Vayne anyway. But he's got Zeke's Convergence, Phantom Dancer, 2 items, so Ruler's certainly very, very online. The only thing that Afreeca really have is how strong their Aurelia is. They get a flash out of Cuvée, but Gen.G is going to push through mid and make sure they don't lose any map position.
Yep. Fly is looking for Keen. Does get a fair bit of damage down onto him, actually, as those chains do land. Falls Duet, not actually something that Fly feels like he needs to worry about with the cleanse in hand. Freecs grouped as 5 here in this mid lane. Not exactly what this composition wants to do as Fly distorting around, just trying to be tricksy. Cuvée waiting for an opportunity to come into this fight, but he's not a flanking DPS dealer here on the Nico. He needs to have different positioning. This particular fight, as Sun darting on forward. Fly looking in the back line. Keen taking a fair bit of damage there as True Shot Barrage is going to snare up the Tahm Kench, but otherwise no one else.
I gotta say, Atlas, playing 5-man with this draft, which is so obviously 4-1, to me says that Keen doesn't have the trust that they can actually play the measured 4-1 where no one gets picked by a LeBlanc or Lee Sin. It's not like Gen.G have super go buttons like Ash Arrow or Sivir Ult to really collapse onto a 4 while Aurelia is in transition. Instead, Keen has been grouping way more than I expected. And it seems like it's a little bit desperate. A little bit like I feel like I have to do the heavy lifting all on my own. They walk up though and aiming pokes pretty damn hard.
Yeah, Ruler is in trouble. They get the heal out of life. He's going to try and get out of here. I don't know whether they're out of the woods just yet, but Afreeca pull back. They're going to take down this minion wave. They're playing it very, very safe by the water this game. Maybe to their detriment. See how this one is going to go as Fly aggressively moving forward with that distortion available in Cube. Split pushing on the bottom side, and now the 4-1 has been enacted here by Gen.G. Teleport available from the Nico. Wants to take down this turret before they get in there, but you can see the Baron damage just isn't there.
It's not really realistic that Afreeca are going to take it with 4 members around, so I think smart for Cube is usually pretty on point with when to teleport and when not to. Take the free objective and to make it a 700 goal game, a 500 goal game, less than that now.
Yep, trouble bubble from Sun is not going to find anyone there as the puppies are going to mostly get taken.
Cube's just getting to do so much spring cleaning in a moment that should be very high tension. In a game where Afreeca's saying, we're going to go to Baron, aren't you scared? It feels like the Afreeca puffing out their chest and Cube saying, nah, I don't believe you. He went and took a turret, he went and cleaned up the mess bot lane. They're able to get their side waves in order when Afreeca park 5 members, including a GA Aurelia, around an objective. So we've talked about chicken a couple of times, and right now, Gen.G just aren't fighting.
Nope. This game of chicken being very well and truly won by Gen.G. It's how they play League of Legends, though, to be honest. They play chicken until they get to the late game and they can actually take a fight that they like. It's not necessarily the composition to do it, but they do have the Vayne. So much late game damage. Cuvée on the Nico as well. No slouch when it comes to late game DPS. And somehow, Gen.G have found themselves in a gold advantage for 31 minutes.
But at this point, around, I guess, 18 minutes there, when it was once again a level playing field, the game was unequal in the Aurelia versus Nico matchup.
Yeah.
And yet they never flexed that. It felt like Keen just wanted to fight, and that bloodlust has led to this delay. Now it might just be all about a team fight, and Gen.G, not licking their lips, but they're definitely considering their options.
Yeah, and this composition is difficult to team fight with, right? They do have a lot of damage, but it's all about turning. It's about counter-engage rather than anything else, and trying to get a pick to start off the fight. Has to be very controlled here from Gen.G with how they're actually going to play this one out.
Very worried that a god of damage can't do damage because he's zoned away by a front line.
Yeah.
Very realistic thing that can happen. The snare duration is forever on Dread.
Yeah, just silly. 3 seconds snare is a crazy one. Peanut barely missing. That first Sonic Wave. Cuvée scouting a lot with that W. Trouble Bubble lands. Fly is going to get over that wall. Flawless Duet not going to register there from Keen.
Aiming a bit of a Ash Arrow Magnet in the past. Is taking a lot of Qs, but it was also Ezreal. Yep. That one hits as well.
That's a really nice one there as Fly moves on forward, gets the Q. That's the triple snare to come in from the E of the Nico.
It looks like an ultimate when it's AoE snaring 3
silly.
people for 3 seconds. 9 seconds of CC on a low cooldown, thank you very much. Says the Nico. You can see why Cuvée is persisting with it. The laning phase hasn't gone well. The nerf is in, and yet he's still playing it. Those side waves that have never been manicured, feels like they need a pedicure, a manicure, all the cures, Atlas, because the side wave cure is not there for Afreeca Freecs.
Yeah, both of these teams need a cure for where they are on the standings as well. And we need to draw your attention back to the fact that if Gen.G are able to win this one, it's disaster stations for KT Rolster.
Remember, Keen doesn't decrease magic damage anymore on the W. He just gets chunked out. Gen.G are on their first Baron, and Afreeca don't even know.
Nope, and it's taking so much damage. There's so much Ginsu's Rage in this Baron pit. Final hour is going to get popped as Dread does have the opportunity to try and steal. He goes into his stopwatch, though. It's down to 2,000 health as Ruler is looking for Sun, just kills him on the backline. No, not quite able to do so. Is aiming one auto attack. Ruler needs to get in there, and he does. Fly looking for it now. The Baron is helping so much, but who's it helping? It's taken by Fly of all people. This series is absolutely insane, and now the Afreeca Freecs are stuck in a pit, but the Aurelia is still alive. Life gets the grey health back. The Vayne is dead, though. It's Cuvée. The last hope here is now Keen is alive. He had the GA. The flash has to be used, and they just want to keep Barons alive now for Gen.G.
A good old-fashioned Baron Fiesta. Both smites are dead. Who gets it but the LeBlanc bursting it down? Keen doesn't die, loses GA, but Afreeca Freecs again come away with definitely less than half of the share of the spoils.
Oh, it's just ridiculous. We're going to see it right now. The Baron sits at such low health, doing so much damage throughout this fight.
Dread plays this really well. It goes to the stage with the Baron at 3,000 health, so you think, okay, there's only going to be one smite available, but both junglers die in the blink of an eye. Ruler snipes with an auto attack over the pit, and you wait for the health bar here. It's down to 340, and that's going to be enough for the LeBlanc to clean it up. There wasn't enough burst damage in the pit. I think LeBlanc had the most there, so
and
it
no
makes
smites
sense.
remaining, right?
Exactly. So I think it's of the people left, that was the most burst damage, so I guess it makes sense that it was picked up by LeBlanc. Not going to be able to clean up Cuvée. He still had his summoners somehow after all of this. They get out, they keep a couple of Baron buffs, and one of them is on a split pusher, so maybe there'll actually be a scenario where Neeko is good in the side lane against the Irelia.
Yeah, well, I mean, Neeko now does have the Frozen Mallet to her name as well. Ruler is very close to 6 items on the Vayne, and look at this. If you've got one Ginsu's Rage member actually doing damage, you're going to be doing a lot of it.
Who's the counterfeit Vayne now, says Neeko.
Yeah, exactly.
Doubling Vayne's damage. Feeling good about that one. 4,500 damage for Keen. Maybe we're seeing why he started to go.
Well, this is the thing, right? It's not exactly what you want to see, but you can understand exactly why you're seeing it. Titanic Hydra is done. Another Durham's Fist is in there for Keen, looking for Hysteric's Gauge. Come in as item number 4 for the Irelia. He is definitely gigantic. 3-1-3, still with his 450 gold bounty even after all of that was said and done.
And now you wonder if Keen gets one roll of the dice in a side lane, and if he messes it up, he's dead. Just like when you face a Gnar with a similar item timing.
Yeah.
There's no escape, so much slowing down, and remember, Neeko, the moment that she gets Rage Blade has 100% uptime if she's auto-attacking on a 40% movement speed buff, and she's slowing enemy movement speed with the Frozen Mallet.
That's Cannon Wave here, and Fly just distorts over, takes down that inner turret. Baron buff utilized here in the mid lane as well. If Ruler gets spare time with his turret, gets taken down very, very quickly, already down to about half health as Afreeca move all 5 members over to defend it. They're spreading them pretty thin and claiming the objectives where they can. Gen.G have moved themselves to a relevant gold lead in 2,000. Certainly the largest one that they've had so far this game.
You definitely want GA and other tools to be distractors for Peanut and Life, because everyone else has ultra damage already. LeBlanc may only be at 2.5 items, but she's got such strong tertiary carries that she just gets to be a chain LeBlanc, rather than actually having to burst down everyone on her own. And G walking up the dregs of the Baron buff. It will time out before the next minion wave.
Yep, 2 seconds. That one is going to go down, but Fly is being a glorified ward at the moment. Wandering around, utilizing the safety of the distortion to keep himself safe as possible. When you've got Life unable to really move too safely into the enemy jungle because there's Aurelias and Gragas's and things like that afoot that Tom Kench doesn't want to deal with, may as well just throw your LeBlanc around to try and figure it out. Ravenous Death Cap is now done for said LeBlanc. 3 items completed, looking for a Void Staff before anything else. But I'm looking at Ruler's items, I'm seeing double lifesteal, one of them being a Bloodthirster. I'm thinking, if Ruler gets, 5 seconds of free time, that might just be Afreeca Freecs dead.
But remember that scenario won't happen under an enemy turret. So that's why the Baron not being up on 3 members that could play 3 lanes really is a struggle, because Cuvée and Ruler just murder turrets, and Fly actually can do a pretty decent shift as well. They just can't get near them. The wave clear is pretty decent on the side of Afreeca, the poke is high, there's some chance of an engage from someone like Jelly or Keen. So the fact that they could clean up some Baron buffs means the first Baron was more of a gold Baron for Gen.G that gets them ahead for the first time this game. They need a second Baron to grow the lead, as Drek doesn't know this is Cuvée.
Yeah,
knows for sure now.
I don't know whether he actually cares all that much. He gets a free delivery, and Pop Blossom ain't going to save you there. Arcane Shift gets aiming over the top, and who was juking who there? A feeling it was Dread, feeling pretty comfortable that was in fact Cuvée instead.
I guess he would have seen the splitting. I think that's how the animation works there, because it was Lee Sin masked, but split after that moment, so it knew it was the Neeko. That part was confirmed. Neeko interaction, still a new one for us to get our heads around. Neeko, the second last champion in the pool of champions to be played in Korea. Only champion we've never seen is still that damn Garen.
Yep, good old Garen. Still waiting for Faker to pick
Who's the
that one
team
up
that's
in mid lane.
hovering the lot?
It's been a few of them, actually.
Yeah, I know.
Hanwha Life was one of our biggest examples.
If they get eliminated from playoffs, maybe finally Atlas.
Yeah, potentially. Aiming, Seraph's Embrace Shield actually was what saved him there for a lot of extra damage. You can see that one is now on cooldown. Fly just looking to play aggressively, almost goes back into that True Shot Barrage that would have done a lot of damage. 6-item Ezreal.
6-item Ezreal versus 6-item Vayne, so they're decked out.
Yeah.
Fly pokes around, not too much damage onto Keen.
Kane's actually still taking relevant damage though from the magic damage, as Peanut was looking for the engagement, but thankfully not going to go too far. Gen.G have some respite. This inhibitor turret will regen slowly. But Afreeca looking to try and push this one down aggressively. Baron now back available one more time.
No one should die until we get a Baron play, because there's nothing to fight for until Elder spawns, and Baron actually leads to a splitting of the map. Fly dives in. Again, remember Keen cannot reduce magic damage with W, so it's actually a pretty good target for Fly to chunk out, because it's someone who now can't dive as reliably onto Ruler or Nikuve.
Yeah, well, as soon as there's then some stray auto attacks onto aiming, it's all about Sun and whether he can play Trixie around the team fights, but otherwise there's just no damage. Vision available here. Gen.G with all the information of this Baron going down, and it's still going down very slowly. Without Keen in the pit.
Nikuve's killing the Elder real fast, Atlas.
Oh my goodness, and there's no vision.
Nope.
They got a control ward down there. He's got teleport. The Baron has been started once again, but look at Peanut's positioning. This steal is well and truly on the line. It's
Gen.G
a 50-50.
getting all of these, Atlas.
Yeah, Cuvee can't actually manage to get this one here as the fight is going to break out live. Has that one available, the Devour is in, but Keen has great position into the backline, but Ruler just juking him out, able to then transition as Fly gets a lot of damage into the backline, and the Vayne even picks up a kill. It's a teleport available for Cuvee, and now it's Gen.G's turn to get on this Baron.
And Atlas, they were able to do everything at the same time. Yes, they can't actually finish the Elder, but they get the surround, they DPS out aiming. He was on 10 HP before Ruler even stacked up his Rage Blade, and that Rage is taken out first on the members of Afreeca and then on the Baron.
Yep, double Overshield to come in on this Vayne. You can see almost 3,000 health as that Overshield is in, and he's got an Infinity Edge. There is so much damage on this Gen.G roster. Yes, the team fight doesn't look great from this squad, because getting all of these champions together and creating a team fight that looks good is messy to say the least. It's really hard to get this damage out. But Ruler was just better.
But Atlas, in a 5v5 scenario, Gen.G were able to have their cake, eat it too, drop a piece, but they couldn't finish the Elder.
Yep.
They got to have Thai food afterwards. They got the Elder in the end.
Yep.
They basically got every single culinary treat, because Afreeca was so confused about what to do that they just got nothing.
Yep, precisely.
Aiming's already out of the fight.
Oh my goodness, just ridiculous. The Ezreal just not feeling like the pick that's working. It's all about Ruler and how strong he is on this Vayne. Pick that he only recently jumped back to is that Griffin series. None of us, I think, were expecting the Vayne pick from Ruler, especially not 2 games in a row, and now he's making it look like it's something that needs to be banned against this guy.
Wow, I think Ezreal just subverted so quickly.
Yeah.
I think Ezreal is now, it's not viable if Vayne is not going to be either banned or not realistically going to be drafted. Even Lucian early, you can flex that into, say, a Cannon lane or a tricky lane matchup and put the Vayne into Ezreal lane and go CS for CS like we see. And yes, there's going to be times where aiming can just throw down the ult and it might chunk out Vayne a little bit, but not when you go Phantom Dancer double lifesteal. Are you even getting through the lifesteal? And even if you do get over the Overshield, guess what? He's going to be full health real fast.
Yep, damn right he is. And he's getting double duty on that lifesteal as well with Ginsu's Rage, so that's almost like triple lifesteal basically, or quadruple if you get it multiplicatively scaled. As you would with the double auto attacks. It's real scary.
And we're knocking on the door of the roller coaster being shut down, Atlas, because Gen.G win 2-0 here. The chances and the scenarios for Afreeca, for KT Rolster to make it out of relegations, they get narrower.
Yep, it becomes really, really dangerous.
A lot of people love riding that roller coaster, but it's not looking likely.
Yeah, it's getting to that really dangerous stage of the roller coaster where we're talking about Final Destination movies and things like that. It's
I actually think it's some security checks.
Oh
Atlas.
my god, Jelly. 3 auto attacks. And Ruler almost takes him down. Shape Splitter is going to be in there as well, as there are 2 lives. What does it mean? Gen.G showing that they do have 2 more lives left in this particular series, I guess.
Well, you'll take the maximum amount of lives. The 1-ups are appreciated. Peanut just getting to threaten. He doesn't really need to do anything. That's a very assertive Tomcat.
Yeah, that very much is. The engaged Tomcat. True Barrage trying to deal with minion waves, but it's Gen.G that are actually winning in the 4-1.
For once, a champion randomly runs into a turret and it's not a visual button.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually fantastic. Finally some respite.
Well,
slowly but surely,
I mean, it's
getting
slow,
taken down.
We know they're not the best sieging team, but damn do they do damage if they get near the turret. They just tank it up. They take down their first inhibitor turret of the game, and, well, goodbye.
Yeah, the inhibitor dies immediately. As now they're looking to try and get even more. That chamber's actually stunning. Denies the headbutt there from Jelly, who gets snared up. Ruler, he's going to close in. There's true damage. Jelly has to go into the stopwatch. We'll keep him alive for the moment. One more auto attack would have killed him, but you don't want to overextend. And Gen.G will just take what they're guaranteed to get. 2 inhibitors now dead, and Gen.G are looking at this 2-0 pretty comfortably right at the moment.
I think they definitely have 2 hands on the trophy. They haven't raised it just yet, but it's looking like they've inflicted too much damage. I think Afreeca just got nothing out of Keen. Keen solo killed the enemy Nico and then has been grouping. I'm not sure if that's a team decision or a Keen decision or a coaching decision, but we knew what they had, and it just feels like it fell through their fingers in this game. And Gen.G needed 2 Barons to actually break the base because of the fact that their siege was pretty woeful. They get them, they take down those objectives. They had the Elder as well, and the double Elder comes in the second 2 minutes time.
Yep, and now we've got Ruler with basically 100% critical strike chance, and no boots. Rapid fire cannon is done. This is the vein of nightmares at this point.
You very rarely see the competitive play selling boots vein.
Yeah.
We got it here.
Thankfully, the passive that you get does give you a bit of extra movement speed if you are playing aggressively, and that's exactly how Ruler's been playing so far.
Watching them try to get this last turret. Minion waves for now, not coalescing into the base, but they're coming soon.
That's a fantastic chunk there from Fly.
Who's next?
Still distorting forward. Yeah, exactly right. If anyone moves too far over there, you can see super minions already crashing top side of the map. Now they're following them into the mid lane. Waiting for another minion wave here, but the Nico is going to be able to corral that one forward. Sun's trying to clear, and now without Baron buff, Afreeca do manage to wave clear much more effectively. Peanut safeguarding his way over, now is aiming, looking aggressive. Ruler actually taking a fair bit of damage, but they have a Tahm Kench. The Devour is going to keep Ruler alive for the moment. Now they're going to need to disengage, wait for that cooldown, come back up.
Good stuff by Fly. Poked out the Nexus turret and got one of them basically scot-free. Afreeca have to kite back, and look at this turret. It's going down as well.
Yep, very quickly.
All this poke. No, Devour's off cooldown again. Ruler's health bar is still healthy. A little too late from Afreeca Freecs, and yet the game extends.
Yeah, Ruler, he's back to full health very, very quickly if he can find a minion wave or at least a jungle camp. And now 14 seconds to go. The Baron is going to be back up again. 2 inhibitors are already down. Cube has teleport available. Ruler 2 hits. The red buff, that was too much damage.
Remember, he has high attack speed and an auto attack cancel. That might actually be slower than just attack. Yeah. Well, Ruler is the god of damage. They can deal with this Baron so fast. Doesn't matter. Afreeca Freecs is going to check it. There is no smite in the pit. Do notice his Guardian on the Tahm Kench. And meanwhile, it's Aurelia in a side lane. Unfortunately, the surroundings of this are a little bit off.
Exactly right. There are super minions that he has to deal with now as well, and the Nico is just going to turn up to that bottom side of the map and continue being a nuisance. Tower does go down. It's only an inhibitor in the way.
This feels like a lion versus a cheetah, but like in a zoo. It's not actually happening in the wild like it should have been. That's a lot of toke damage.
Yeah, I think the cow's going back to the wild as Silver Bolts. That's true damage, my friend. Your Unbreakable Will's really breakable right now. Double kill, triple kill for Ruler. Trying to chase after Sun, but he's at least able to get away for the moment. But they know exactly what is on the menu here. Gen.G just want to win the game. The Abyssal Voyage to bring in Peanut. They're not going to take Ruler on forward, as Sun just takes about 1 billion damage from a tumble-empowered auto attack. Flawless duet certainly isn't that, as the Vanguard's Edge comes in. Keen has to try and do something, and life is just going to eat him. Sun goes down. That's the GA. Now Nexus turret number 2 is going to go down. The Pop Blossom's there. Keen's just running for the hills. That's going to be the full house. It's going to be Rulers full of flies, and the Nexus goes down 2-0 for Gen.G. And KT Rolster's life just got real hard.
Exactly. The standings implications of this game are something that should not be forgotten. Ruler stands up. He knows he's put in his Vayne shift, and it's been another victory. That should almost be enough to keep Gen.G out of relegations. World Championship coach Edgar breathes a sigh of relief. KT Rolster fans are the most affected by this. Afreeca and the team of Gen.G may have done enough to keep away from relegations, and while relegations is not being relegated, KT are also going to be down in the dumps and need to win every remaining game and have results go their way.
Yep. That was also the first game that Fly has played on the LeBlanc so far this series, so it's his highest win ratio so far. Congratulations to Gen.G. Game number 2. I didn't think that they were going to be able to do it, to be honest. After that mid-game didn't go so well for them. I just felt like Freecs had a composition that was easier to run. However, like you say, I think it's more about the mental game and the problems that the Freecs had. The fact that Keen had to play with his team the entire time, almost like he was a babysitter for the rest of the squad. It's just not what you want to see out of what was a beautiful 4-1 composition.
What I will say about Gen.G versus Afreeca, because of course this was at many points very low-level gameplay, because it is, you know, 9th versus 8th. What we can say to the benefit of Gen.G is that in game number 1, they picked no agency and got very lucky, right? They won the lottery a bit and were able to pick up Baron a couple of times and win the game. In game number 2, they say, we were too greedy. Let's actually fight in the mid-game. And they overall make the better map movements. The enemy team tries to team fight with an Aurelia and Cuvées mopping up waves and getting things done. Gen.G played the measured game overall. They needed an invitation in game number 1, but they did in game number 2, so they actually seized this series rather than just watching themselves win it in game number 1. Meanwhile, Afreeca kind of conspired to, at all points, be less than the sum of their parts. And that's the difference here. Gen.G with a smarter team over the course of 2 games, and they come away 2-0 victors. So on that part, you have to say well deserved.
And you can see some Gen.G fan and an Afreeca fan. Hopefully they're still friends after that one.
I mean, they can hug now, right? Because at least they're both out of relegation.
That's true. That is true. Both of them making it up to 5 wins is definitely important. And Gen.G showing some fire. I love watching Ruler play the Vayne. He is just so incredibly mechanically gifted. And you give him a champion like that, that's certainly a recipe for some fantastic things. So good to see him continuing to play fantastically well. I mean, even in the Kingzone Dragon X series that came up last. Oh, we're looking for Garen still.
Where is he?
I know.
If Hanwha Life are eliminated from playoffs and they don't play it, I'm mad.
Yeah, I know.
Is it going to be Sangyun roll swap to top? He feels like a Garen player. Oh my god, that is an awesome Fly and Lissandra drawing.
Well, I mean, that is the Fly champion.
If that's your one true pairing, you were very sad today.
Yeah, well. Fly, it still is, certainly. Fly's most effective champion. It does mean that there's a guaranteed ban against this team. If you want to stand a chance.
Ruler's already sitting down in the coaches with. He's like,
yeah, it's just going to leave.
I was 1v9 before, I'm the coach now. And you know what? If he came up to you and said that, you'd be a brave man to tell him off.
Exactly.
Like, okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah, if we were going to settle it on the Rift, especially, just because you know that your self-confidence would certainly hit a very small
It looks like a Gen.G. I want to say this is a Gen.G fan, like, creeping away from, like, cover saying, are we okay yet?
Yeah. Can I look? Can I watch yet? Is it okay? Is it safe to come out?
I think 2 eyes are just fine for you.
Yeah, I think
Gen.G fan?
Yeah.
Well, actually, maybe if you just watch game 2, you'd be happy.
Yeah, don't watch all of game 1. Watch the end of game 1. Watch the Nexus explode.
Watch the Gen.G highlights. It'll be nice and short.
From game number 1.
Yeah.
And all the highlights will just be game number 2. It's like, oh, was this a best of 1? Are we playing best of 1s in the LCK now?
Yeah,
What's
we
happening?
are.
Well,
we are, Atlas.
For us, that's what we're hoping, just because game number 1 was not exactly the experience that we want to talk about again. Wasn't great. Game number 2, though, did certainly show some better plays out of Gen.G and showed that these Nico Vayne compositions are certainly to be feared. So more bans need to be thrown against Gen.G, and that is always a good news story if you're forcing your opponents to do things they don't necessarily want to do. Why is this a highlight?
Well, we have to show a highlight reel, and then I imagine we can't tell the Smite here. Some people have been pinging us in the ears saying that Smite wasn't available. We cast our eyes to it too late, I guess. But regardless, it didn't end up being a significant factor.
Yeah, my eyes may have deceived me when I checked it.
Understandable, Atlas. We had a lot of weird and wonderful moments over the course of these 2 games. A lot of weird plays. I think this is one that you definitely want to just have lived through, rather than necessarily have inspected too closely. The plot holes were quite large.
They were. And I actually really want to have a look at the damage graph to see exactly the amount that aiming was able to do, because in comparison to the Ezreal performance that we saw in game number 1, it was not high. It was not exactly that hard carry that we saw from Ruler in the late game of game 1.
If you were doing like AFL style, where you have like 5 votes, 4 votes, 3 votes, I guess 5 votes Ruler, 4 votes Fly? 3 votes Life, if you're going to go like...
I'd probably give it to Fly just because he did look very proactive on the LeBlanc.
I can see it, right? I feel like it was one of those... I thought Life was good this game on the top bench
I think
as well.
with nameplates on, I think in that phrase that you really like to say, just because this has been an upgraded performance from what we expect out of Fly, and I think that's exactly what Gen.G need in order to progress.
And does he feel bold enough to start trash talking? Because Fly is one of our best trash talkers as well, and has been very out of form, so we'll see what the decision is here. Veins do draw the eyes.
Yeah, maybe it has to be Ruler, who gets an instant triple kill by himself. Yeah, it's hard to say.
Hey!
Yeah, lots of damage. He was poking a heck of a lot.
That is a lot. A lot. You don't often out-damage Ezreal and Vayne as one.
Yeah, well, I mean, Vayne out-damaging an Ezreal is just insane as well. So, huge performance for both of the carries, but both of the carries doesn't often constitute Fly being included in the conversation. On the side of Gen.G, when it was against Griffin, it was about the Nico still being a damage threat. Didn't quite happen.
Another game where Afreeca had something going on. Not as much as game number 1, but had something going on. And
they still had control, and they didn't exactly have a composition that got hard outscaled or anything
when
like that.
When the thing you have is 1v1 with Aurelia, and we just didn't see it at all. We saw Cuvée in a side lane more.
Yeah.
You kind of throw your hands up a bit and you say, I don't know what's going on this series. We had the Ren Smite snafus of game number 1.
Yep, Baron sitting around with 400 health, and just the Baron gets smoked. Ruler's going to get double MVP. This time around, the Vayne was too strong, and everyone was too busy Vayne spotting in order to see any of the other good players on the side of Gen.G, and I can completely understand. I mean, this outplay was fantastic.
I mean, you say Vayne spotting. I'm pretty sure that's almost always in a negative context. This is the reverse.
Oh, you're spotting it do the cool stuff this time.
I mean, Ruler, I don't know if there's ever been a player in a 5-11 team who's played less badly.
Yeah, I know,
We're talking about, I can't remember any, maybe one somewhere that I missed.
I don't think there are any examples of him being actively bad.
He's been unbelievably amazing.
Yeah.
There's 1v9 and there's 1v9.
He's had examples of team fights and games that they've lost where he's hit literally every skill shot of an Ezreal. It's just insane. Now we're going to get to have a chat with him, so let's throw it over to G-Sun for some translation.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Susan with today's first interview translation, and we're going to be having a solo MVP interview with Ruler. Congratulations on the victory. It was a 2-0 victory. How do you feel about that? Well, recently I think the game is about mistakes. So the team with more mistakes will lose. So we try to get rid of as much as mistakes possible. So I guess you guys did a flawless game today. And all the Gen.G players were doing so well. I think we had a good night's sleep. And I'm really thankful for my teammates performing so well today. I slept over 8 hours. I can't really exactly name the time, but I think about 8 hours. And I heard that the head of your team, Gen.G, is also out here to support you. Yeah, I did go and say hi to him. Did he support him? Did he support you well? I mean, he always gives us so much power whenever he comes pay a visit. Well, actually, Kalista is one of the top tier AD carries right now, but you let it go to the hand of Afreeca and you just locked in Ezreal. Well, there are a lot of champions. I can't really mention the exact champions, but I'm confident to play up against Kalista. But actually, I did make some mistakes during the laning phase, so it wasn't an easy game. But I think, yeah, we got the very good result in the end. Then we're expecting another Ruler ending today. Well, actually, during the laning phase, we were a bit in the lead, but they made a... I mean, Zoe teleport was really crucial, so we weren't able to capitalize on that, but Ezreal actually doesn't lose in the laning phase against Kalista. I think it's like, it really matters of your experience, how you're good at Ezreal to play against Kalista. There was this moment, Peanut flashed over the wall and stole the Baron, so what did he say? Well, I mean, we just our biggest mistake was that we were letting them try Barons comfortably, but finally Peanut got the steal today. And Ruler. The moment you were just 1v1 Zoe was really amazing. So this is the replay. So you had that blue ward over there, and what was going on in your mind? I was expecting her to jump over the wall with her ultimate, so well, it was a little bit unhappy that I wasn't able to finish her, but I think that kinda went as I planned. I mean, Peanut needed to kill, obviously. Well, some people also said that you should have used W first. Well, I do agree, but I was actually there were too many things going on, so I wasn't able to pull that off. Game 2, you went with Vayne once again. I think it is one of your signature picks. What kind of strategy were you trying to bring in? We just picked whatever I'm good with. Well, I mean, like, I don't know.
네, 팀적으로 뭐 좋은 조합이었고요. 그리고 플라이 선수의 르블랑이 오늘 경기까지 단 3번밖에 나오지 않았을 정도로
it was his third LeBlanc of the split.
이루어져 있다는 느낌이 드는데
We felt like it wasn't his top priority champion. So whose decision was that?
있었던 것 같아요. 용준이 형도 자신 있다고.
Well, Fly was confident, and also the coaching staff thought that LeBlanc was a good pick. So. That's why.
플라이 선수가 르블랑으로 바로 스틸하는 장면도 있었고
he even stole the Baron with his LeBlanc today.
사실 경기 후반까지도 어떤 팀이 완전히 우세하다고 말할 수 없을 정도로 티키타카가 많이 되고 있었는데요. 그래서 바론 상황이 더 중요했죠. 룰러 선수의 두 번째 바론 앞장면 굉장히 인상적이었습니다. 함께 보면서 얘기 나눠볼게요. 이때 수적으로 밀리는데도 불구하고 베인이 막 너무
Well, you were actually behind in number. There were more Afreeca players there.
두근두근하더라고요.
이제 저희 탐켄치니까 일단
Well, we had Tom Kent here, so I had trust in him, so I was able to tumble forward.
네, 팀원을 확실히 믿고 내가 죽지 않을 거라는 자신감이 있었던 건가요?
일단 무조건 안 죽는다고 생각을 하고
I had the confidence that I will never die over there, so I was able to just tumble in and in.
가져갔습니다. 이 세트는 사실 조금 경기가 길어서
It was a bit of an extended one.
가져갈 수 있을까 이런 의문이 들기도 했을 것 같아요.
Were you concerned about the result?
이즈리얼이 저희를 좀 잘
Well,
밀어낼 수
Azrael
있어서
was actually able to push us away, but since I got the bloodthirster, I had the confidence to close out the game.
장면 보여주셨습니다. 다음 경기가 담원이에요. 이제 뉴클리어 선수와
game will be
대결을
up
하게
against
될
Tamon
텐데
Gaming,
젠지에게
and you'll be
앞으로의
facing
승리
Nuclear.
더 중요하잖아요.
네.
어떤 각오로 임하실
How you're gonna
거예요?
prepare for that
일단
match?
연습 열심히
I'm
노력해야 될 것
gonna
같고
practice
더
really hard.
그리고 좀
Even
실수를
harder.
많이 더 줄여야 될 것 같아요. 그래야
And we have to get rid of more
잘하는
mistakes.
팀들이랑 해도 이길 수 있어서
So,
실수를 줄이는 게 제일
If
좋을 것
I
같아요.
get rid of the mistakes, we will be able to win against stronger teams, so that will be our focal point.
응원하도록 하겠습니다. 오늘 인터뷰 감사합니다.
Thank you very much for this interview, Ruler, and I'm gonna pass it back to our casters.
단독
Thank
MVP
you.
룰러 선수 만나봤습니다. 중계석 연결할게요.
Thank you so much, Jason, for the translation of the interview with Ruler. Great to hear from him, and I'm glad that he was the solo MVP, purely because I feel like he's just the solo MVP of Gen.G for this season.
Double thumbs up for Ruler. Double thumbs up for Gen.G. This 2-0, the stat line, but just the victory really heaps pressure onto KT that they kind of have to win all 3 remaining matches, and that's 3 more matches than they've won all season, really. So
they're also really difficult matches, right? I mean, the schedules for both the Afreeca Freecs and Gen.G are also tough, but having a 2-game buffer now,
match buffer, right?
Sorry, 2-match buffer, it just makes it really, really hard. Even if they lose, as they are predicted to against their opposition.
We won't write the eulogy yet, Atlas, but you can just look at this one and see that it's unlikely that KT, who's had some pretty good game scores, it's not like their game scores in the toilet, they're -14 compared to a team that has 2 more match wins, but it's only -12.
Yeah.
But the first tiebreaker match score is going to be very difficult for them to catch up on, so we'll see if KT Rolster can get it going, because it has to be soon. Otherwise, one of the most storied orgs in Korea will be playing in relegations with Jin Air. Looking at the race to get out of relegation, yes, Jin Air is going to be the start of something, but they're going to have to parlay form into Hanwha Life and Damwon. And that's with Hanwha Life and Damwon, theoretically, still neck and neck for top 5.
Yeah, it's a possibility that Hanwha are going to continue looking a little bit dicey when it comes to their performance, but otherwise it feels like KT are going to have a really rough time. Afreeca and Gen.G, though, on the other side, I mean, Damwon and Sandbox, that's a difficult run, and King's Own SKT is looking very, very dangerous here for the Afreeca Freecs. Some weird stuff could happen if KT can shore up with a victory against Jin Air and then try and challenge one of either Damwon Gaming or Hanwha Life Esports, but it's just getting that game score to a decent spot that is really hard. They really need to win all 3 of these games if they want to guarantee anything, because that'll get them up to that 6-win mark and into safety.
And Gen.G's 3-game score lead over Afreeca is also very comfortable. So
yeah,
Gen.G not out of dodge, but we'll be soon, guys. About a 42-minute break, and then we're back for our second series. It's a big one, SKT Sandbox.
Yeah, SKT Sandbox, one team will be second. The other team will be fourth under King's Own. You don't want to miss it. Come back in about an hour.